Our next Yager recipient is Leslie Lausten of District 8. Leslie engages her students in hands-on inquiry based on real-world scenarios, integrating math, engineering, technology, and art into their education experience. Leslie converted an unused section of the schoolyard to a garden with her students and developed an after-school program for students interested in furthering their explorations of science and engineering. Leslie?
Okay, so hopefully, I'm a little shorter than these people before me, so hopefully you all can hear me as I speak. So I'm an elementary teacher, which is quite a different take on science education than is often thought of. And one of my premise and my passion is about science and literacy and how we can make it a natural fit into our elementary classrooms. I teach at a little school called Heartwood Elementary School in Stafford County, Virginia, which is about an hour south of Washington, D.C. We actually are a rural school. We are Title I, but you go down, in my classroom, I'm going to have FBI agents' kids, and you never know who's going to be in my room. So it's quite the mix of kids and adults. I've taught at this school for 25 years, and my background is in kindergarten, first and second grade. And I spent 18 years learning how to love early childhood. And after about 18 years, I said, okay, I think I'm ready for something new. And I made the decision to move up to fourth grade, and I'm thrilled that I did. So I'm here to talk to you about a paradigm shift that we need to have happen in our elementary schools right now. Many of you know that elementary teachers are hearing more and more, teach math, teach reading. Science is the first thing squeezed out. All of you in this room know that's got to change. It has to change for America. And so how about taking that idea of math and reading being your core subjects and flipping it and making science and social studies your core subjects? So if you look up here at this list of thinking skills, do you do those thinking skills only in the reading classroom? I dare say you do those in science as well. How about these? These are just thinking skills and strategies that every child needs to be introduced to. And if you can learn how to teach them cross-curricularly, you'll be able to make an exciting and engaging day. No more silent classrooms. I don't know if any of you have ever looked out at your classroom and you're teaching away and all of a sudden everybody's staring at the wall and they've just got this silent look on their, it's just a silent classroom. And you realize no one's listening to me but me. That's when you know that you need to change what you're doing. And so, when you think about science and literacy integration, science is already integrated. If you're teaching it right, you're thinking, you're writing, you're reading, you're talking, you're listening, you're expressing, and all of that goes together. All of these pictures that you see on my slides, these are my real students, and they're also real work samples that come along with my classroom over the past couple of years. I teach my kids to argue, and the scientific argumentation is awesome. When I got a new principal several years ago, he walked into the room and my kids were in the middle of a heated debate, and I thought, this is going to go one of two ways. He's either going to love it, or he's going to want to meet with me after school at 4 o'clock in his office. I'm thrilled to say that he was so surprised that fourth graders can carry on debates in such meaningful context and use vocabulary as much of the high school students can do as well. So what does this look like? Well, first of all, this is my classroom, and you know that if you're going to teach anything, you have to start by doing science. So in my room, we don't just read about science, we do science, and science is the start of everything. I flipped my room so that I start my day at 9:30 with science. active science. My kids are up, we're doing roller coasters, we're making cars, we're doing electricity, we're looking at turtle tracks, and we're busy. We have a real-world connection. This year I was fortunate enough to make a connection at the Richmond NSTA conference. I was in a workshop and I was sitting next to a nice lady, and she had a big box of stuff. And we got to talking, as you sometimes do, and little did I know she was the educator at Fort Fisher Aquarium in North Carolina. And she has a wonderful website, Sea Turtle Exploration, where you can get lesson plans to incorporate into your classroom all year. We were able to adopt 2 hatchlings, Turtle A and Turtle B, which we named Chris, and the other one we just didn't name. Chris was the one we were really caring about. And so we were able to watch these turtles grow all year. We kept track of their data, and you can see the graph that we did. We started off by doing a line plot, and then we also did a bar graph. And then at the end of the year, we took all the data measurement, and each kid was given the different data points, and they drew turtles. And we put them on a big, long piece of paper side by side, and you could really see visually how Turtle A or Chris had grown throughout the year. One of the greatest things was Megan was able to create a communication with us, and my students wrote her and the other scientists, because we got to know the scientist all year. She has a blog every Thursday that would come out, and we would learn different things about how much salinity is put into the tank at the aquarium, and we would also learn about why are some of the turtles endangered in North Carolina. And so the kids would learn more and more and more. In fact, this picture up here with the pool noodles is a bunch of turtles that had been rescued from Boston when they had been migrating up the coast, and they got cold shocked, I guess. It was too cold for them, so they had to come into the aquarium and rehabilitate for a while. So real world connections. I mean, and the neatest thing is that the next year, when they're in 5th grade, I'm going to be able to call them back in September and say, Chris and Turtle B are being released, and we'll get to watch the video of them being released back into the ocean. And so then you want to connect the language. So speaking is a rehearsal for the written word. And so as a Title I school, we want these kids to talk about what they're doing. And the more they talk, the more they use the vocabulary. And students know that as they speak and use the words in context, then all of a sudden they're using words like energy sources and transfer of energy in an appropriate manner. We have vocabulary that we will introduce after the investigation as opposed to before the investigation. Once they know what these concepts are, we tie in word study and the prefixes and suffixes and all of that within the science curriculum. And then we also do reading, writing, and reflection. So we have science notebooks that we use all year long. We have nature journals as well. Where we'll go outside and we'll draw what's going on or write about what's happening in the world, in the nature outside of our classrooms. We use reading skills and strategies. So if we're reading a passage in a FOSS book, I use FOSS, or if you're even if we use the textbook, we might want to do a cause and effect passage. And so we'd read about it and connect cause and effect to, we've been looking at force and motion and what's the cause and what's the effect, and then let's read the passage, and can you find the cause and effect within that, and then bring it all back together. Again, it just makes sense to do it this way. And just to leave it there, it is time to make this shift. I think if you're making kids interested in their curriculum and in what you're teaching all day long, then I think kids have a feeling of ownership. Daily science instruction is not a should have, it is a must have, and it must be 45 minutes of elementary instruction a day. In order for us to become not 21st century learners, but all century learners. And so if you'd like to see more about what I do have a science blog called Science Gal. You can just Google Science Gal, and you can see some more of things that I like to talk about with my little guys in Virginia. Thank you very much.
most important thing.